A marriage built on lies. This offering is based on Phindile's true life story, and it aims to resonate with women and men who may find themselves in tumultuous marriages. Now, the second project comes after the successful release of a debut book, Yet You Married Him. Well, Phindile is in the studio with us this morning to tell us more about this read. Phindile, very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Simpiwe.
Great stuff. Now, before we get into this book, just refresh our minds about, Yet You Married Him, what that book was about.
So Yet You Married Him is a book based on 22 characters of men. Initially, when I wrote the book, the content of the current book, A Marriage Built on Lies, was supposed to be on Yet You Married Him. But I wasn't ready yet to speak about my own story. So I decided to just pick different stories from different women, including my story, and put it in a journal to actually say that as women, this is what we go through. And the signs are always there, but yet we marry them. So it's a book about women, wanting women to reflect on what it is that made them end up in certain marriages that they're in, and what it is that they're bound to discover in those marriages, and how those marriages will probably end, or how those marriages will probably progress.
I've had this conversation with so many people, well, especially the married people and the ones who divorce, that why do you continue marrying these people yet you saw the signs? Or why do you continue staying in that marriage despite all the red flags? And, I've got a variety of responses. Some say it was love, some say, they want to be relevant because every woman, of course, wants to get married. Yeah,
it's societal pressure.
Yes.
Simply more than anything. Yes, we love these men, but it's always that thing of, I want to tick that box. I want to be a married woman. I mean, even us as women, we judge each other if you've never been married before. So getting married is actually a status that most women actually want to achieve. But luckily, we now getting to the times in which women are now able to say that I'm okay with not getting married, So that's the reason why mostly women want to get into these marriages and ignore the signs.
Right.
Yes.
And about your second book, Marriage Built on Lies, what propelled you to write this book? I mean, it must have taken you quite a great deal of bravery to share your story, your personal story in the book.
I felt that somebody needed to change the narrative. I mean, we come from generations in which our grandmothers and mothers never spoke about the realities of marriage, right? And we are a generation that's now privileged enough to actually speak about what's really going on in marriages. So I thought to myself that, going through such a tumultuous marriage, I wanted to share my story, and not only for my own healing process, but to say to women and men alike that, yes, we go through these terrible times in our marriages, but we should also reflect on ourselves, because much as it's a marriage built on lies, a lot of people will think that it's lies that he told me, but it's lies that I had also told myself in order to keep up the facade so that people can say, oh, Pindi's life looks so good. Phindi lives in such a beautiful house. Phindi, couple goals, as we speak about on social media. And for me, I just felt that let me bare myself naked, because I have honestly bared myself naked in the book, whereas I've told every detail of the abuse I experienced emotionally and including physically, and also what it actually did to me. And what I've also done is that I've looked at my insecurities to say, this is what I'm actually insecure about. Hence, I found myself in such a marriage. And also, we find ourselves in the times of GBV, mental health issues. And that's because we're not honest with ourselves to say, this is what I'm going through as a person. These are the lies that I'm telling myself. And this is what I'm trying to put a picture about myself, whereas you're actually broken inside as a person.
Phindile, I heard you mention healing. Do you get a sense that you've healed, or you're still in the process of healing? And what really inspires you, to heal, and whether this book has contributed in that process?
Sometimes I think I've healed, and then I feel that I've gone back 10 steps back or 100 steps back. So I can actually say that a lot of things trigger. I mean, raising two little boys sometimes, whereas I have to get their father to actually take responsibility for them. It triggers me. Then I'm like, this is the decision I made for my children. Had I chosen better, they would not have been in this situation. Had I done better, they would not have been in this situation. So those are the things that trigger me. Even when you get into a new relationship, I mean, I've been divorced for 4 years. You get into a new relationship, you see certain things about a certain person, you get triggered. But luckily, then you can find a person who say, now you're being triggered. I'm not that man,
Does it happen that you blame yourself?
Absolutely. I blame myself for the decision I made, because I feel that much as the societal pressure, some of the things we actually allow ourselves to put ourselves through them, you know. I mean, I always say to people that I was a tick box kind of girl. And I didn't have to be a tick box kind of girl. Nobody said that, Pinch, you need to achieve this, you need to achieve that, you need to be in this kind of marriage and so forth. So I blame myself that I wasn't honest and truthful enough with myself and reflect to say, you know what, Pindi, you could have actually avoided this, because I knew within the first 6 months of my marriage that my marriage wasn't going to work. But I stuck it out for 6 years where I could have left earlier and avoided the pain that I went through at that time.
Let's talk about the importance of building a solid, fruitful foundation for a marriage.
As a spiritual woman, firstly, I would say God.
Sure.
Definitely God. And another thing is, you need to be content with yourself. Before you get into a relationship with anybody, you need to be happy with yourself. Feel complete as a human being, so that when you go into another relationship, it's just a matter of complimenting a person. But you shouldn't feel that another person is going to put you on a certain level or a certain status, and that marriage isn't the be-all, you know. Yes.
So I want us to take us through the key lessons, I mean, that you've, about marriage that you share in this book.
The key lessons, it's being truthful with yourself, and as well as always speak about your problems. I mean, gone are the times where they say what happens in a marriage, you should not be able to speak about it. That's why so many women even end up dead, because they're not able to speak about the situations that they're going through in their marriage. So I would say that it's important that we are honest with ourselves, and when it's really tough, it is okay to leave. I know that as women, when a marriage fails, it's always the blame that you failed as a woman. It's never that the man failed, and we need to stop taking ownership of that, because a marriage is about two people. If it fails, it's both people who are supposed to be held responsible.
And the problem is that when you enter into a new marriage or a new relationship, you carry the burden of the blame, continuously blaming yourself for having, you know, contributed to a failed marriage in the first place.
I mean, I had a problem with being called a divorcee at some point.
Sure.
And I remember the first 2 years of my divorce, I used to call myself, I'm a divorced woman. I don't call myself a divorced woman anymore. I'm just a single woman. Yes. Because it just carries that negative stigma, and we don't need to take ownership of that.
Got you. Phindile, lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Where can you get a copy of this book, by the way?
It's at your leading bookstores, Exclusive Books and Bargain Books, and you can also get it on Take-A-Lot. And if you need any further information, I'm available on Instagram, Phindile_Yende, and then on Facebook, Phindile Yende.
All right, Phindile, great chatting to you. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was published author and speaker Phindile Yende, and we've been discussing her new book titled A Marriage Built on Lies.